As the world deals with COVID, I had a notion to go on a series of walks subtitled Poetry in Motion, highlighting popular places in my adopted home city, each one narrated with an original ditty. It sounded like a challenging task, lots of walking while wearing a mask, showing things to see along each route, as I clock up the miles sightseeing on foot. History presented in an unconventional way, pictures combined with interesting wordplay. I hope you enjoy my rambling talks as you accompany me on Zoom's Auld Reekie walks. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Zoom's Auld Reekie walks. Today it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the water of Leith Walkway. I'm currently standing at the entrance to the Colinton Railway Tunnel. The water of Leith Walkway runs from Balerno, west of Edinburgh, all the way through the centre of Edinburgh to Leith, which is a distance of 12 3/4 miles. I hope you enjoy this little tour. Just to give you a reference point, here is the map of Edinburgh. Our starting point is in the village of Balerno, which can easily be reached by bus from Edinburgh city centre, getting off at the stop for Balerno High School, with the walkway beginning just before reaching the bus stop. Our end point is Leith, which is well served by buses to the city centre. We will have sight of the river for most of the way, so it is difficult to get lost, and there are plenty of signs along the way, including any temporary diversions that may be in place. The walkway was completed in 2002 and is used by cyclists and joggers, as well as walkers. The bus is approaching Balerno, so let's head out there now. At the start, we get a sense of where we will go, when our eyes are drawn to the ground below. The course of the river has been marked out. A winding route eastwards, there is no doubt. Partly following the Balerno to Slateford former railway line, which was closed to passengers in 1949. Goods trains stopped in 1967, after which the line went to railway heaven. Not far from the former Balerno station, Graham's Garden is a spot for some contemplation. Peace and quiet it does not lack. Graham Priestley is remembered with a memorial plaque. In 1296 records, for the first time there's a mention of a church that warrants some of your attention. The present Currie Kirk dates from 1785, with a centuries-old burial ground for people no longer alive. Soon there's a rush of noise from the cars overhead, which will quickly pass as under them we are led. Back among the trees along a stretch that is pretty, away from the 1980s road that bypasses the city. James Gillespie owned a nearby snuff mill, a philanthropist who left a fortune in his will. His mansion house is still there in Spylaw Park, a grassy area where dogs like to run and bark. There, Firhill High School pupils back in 2017 created an Edwin Lucas-inspired mural to be seen. We now briefly pause for an off-track detour, as Colinton village provides an appealing lure. On the main road we can stop and stare at the 1924 railings designed by Phoebe Traquair. To reach Colinton Parish Church, down the hill we must go. The water hairpins round it as we peek down below. Unveiled by author Ian Rankin in 2013, a statue of young Robert Louis Stevenson can be seen. Each year to the village he came and went, with many summers at his grandfather's house being spent. Back on the walkway, and for our delectation, under the bridge remains some platform from Colinton Station, whose last passenger train departing was seen on 30th October 1943 at 2019. Just beyond, the rail tunnel and art make an interesting marriage, with the full-length mural a view from a railway carriage. Robert Louis Stevenson's poem adorns one side, pleasing walkers and cyclists out for a ride. On the opposite side, beautiful images appear, depicting what passengers could have seen both far and near. Chris Rutherford's images are a delight. He involved local schools on the 20,000 square feet site. The text side created by Craig Robertson and Duncan Peace. Only in 2020 did all the work cease. As we continue our walk through Craiglockhart Dell, the West Grotto has a story to tell. Formerly part of Alexander Monro's Craiglockhart estate, it was a 19th century refuge to rest and wait. It has a Gothic entrance arch, and around are trees such as Wellingtonia and larch. The Water of Leith Visitor Centre is from here a short hop, an opportunity for a welcome comfort stop. It houses an exhibition which is free, and a cafe selling snacks, coffee and tea. In the shadow of the Union Canal it is tucked, passing 75 feet above water over the Slateford Aqueduct. Designed by Hugh Baird and completed in 1822, it spans 500 feet with 8 arches too. Saughton Park's walled garden, open morning to night, is on the 1908 Scottish National Exhibition site. The well-maintained garden invites you to stroll, while the peace and quiet helps to soothe the soul. The 17th century sundial tracks the time of day, while on the flower beds changing light conditions play. Murrayfield Stadium was opened in March 1925, where each spring our Six Nations dreams come alive. 67,500 spectators make an almighty din, roaring on Scotland in the hope of a win. This Air Raid Protection Report Centre, of which the city had 5, is the only one in Scotland that has continued to survive. Youths cycled here from bomb sites during World War II, helping to ensure the message must get through. Inside the Armoury, those messages during an air raid were passed on to coordinate ambulances and the fire brigade. If you walk around the building, for your eyes there's a feast, as there's a second mural on the wall facing east. One piece of Anthony Gormley's sculpture 6 times is just beyond a bridge leading to a path that climbs up to the Scottish National Gallery of Modern Art from the rear, but instead we'll continue at water level past the Weir. In 2004, on the 1st of December, a permanent memorial was unveiled to remember all those affected by HIV and AIDS. The life tribute means our collective memory never fades. Isla Paschal Richardson's funeral poem, To Those I Love, and the memorial bench remember loved ones now up above. Picturesque Dean Village is full of colour, a place to brighten your mood when the weather is duller. For wildlife lovers, there are herons to spot. They must be used to being photographed a lot. Dating back to the 16th century, here grain was milled. Transported to bakers, once sacks were filled. Completed in 1831 to a Thomas Telford design. Dean Bridge looks magnificent when the weather is fine. Its 4 arches soar towards the sky, supporting traffic over the valley 106 feet high. The statue of Hygeia has a story to tell, as she stands above St Bernard's Well. Around 1760 the well was discovered, and to protect it from the weather it was then covered. A rotunda was later built with Lord Gardenston's wealth, housing from 1790 the goddess of health. The 19th century Mackenzie Bridge has a striking design. To pass under it involves moving off a straight line. As St Bernard's Bridge it used to be known. Many tourists take pictures of it using their phone. As we reach Stockbridge, we are among traffic once again, and in the water we see another of Anthony Gormley's men. There's an opportunity for another comfort break, possibly a coffee and a slice of cake. We continue on our journey, listening out for bird trills, as we make our picturesque way towards Cannon Mills. After regular Water of Leith flooding left residents appalled, floodgates on Warriston Road were installed. Swans with a poem by George Bruce feature on one. Another depicts a heron looking majestic in the sun. Ownership of another by Lady Haig's Poppy Factory was allowed, which was painstakingly painted by factory veteran Donald MacLeod. Just a few yards away does the factory lie. The gates are closed when the water is too high. At Powderhall another 6 times figure do we see. That brings the total we've passed so far up to 3. Just yards from where greyhounds used to race. But of the stadium, sadly there is now no trace. Passing under a disused railway line, we reach Redbraes Weir. There's a chance of seeing some wildlife here. If you happen to have a bit of good luck, you might see a kingfisher, moorhen, or even a duck. In Bonnington, we get to see 6 times again, with another of the sculptures of the standing men. Approaching Leith Shore, we will now meet 5 paintings just before Sandport Street. Leith's association with all things maritime appears alongside extracts from Coleridge's most famous rhyme, in which the ancient mariner shot the albatross, an action that made his crew most cross. At the entrance to Commercial Quay, the fish and ships sculpture is fun to see. A gateway to lots of places to eat. On the reverse side, it doubles as a seat. Nearby is this polished magma boulder, which looks very new, but is clearly much older. It comes from the water of Leith on the other side of the world. From a volcano in New Zealand, it had been hurled. The ship in on the shore saw a tragic tale, which could have been avoided, but to no avail. The language barrier was an ominous sign. In April of 1779, some Gaelic-speaking Highlanders thought they'd been tricked, thinking it was a lowland regiment for whom they'd been picked. The departing vessel they thus refused to board, perceived as mutiny after orders were ignored, shouted at in English by the major in charge. In the ensuing panic, there was a gun discharge. The arresting troops immediately returned fire, killing 12 Highlanders in an episode most dire. The listed building at the corner of Tower Street is one to admire from a nearby seat. A windmill from around 1686 it was, converted around 1805 for a different cause. A Napoleonic Wars signal tower, at that point it became. Milne's Mill to Leith Signal Tower was the change of name. The Merchant Navy Memorial is 18 feet high, with seafaring life depicted as you look up towards the sky. By Princess Anne in 2010 it was unveiled, recognising Leith's maritime role from where many ships have sailed. As the founder of the Scottish Business Achievements Awards Trust, taking a seat beside Sandy Robertson is a must. A prominent wine merchant and promoter of charity, his likeness has been captured with great clarity. The Victoria Swing Bridge is our final destination. After 12 3/4 miles, there's a feeling of elation. Construction ended in 1874, and our feet are probably by now a bit sore. There are plenty of bars and restaurants nearby to rest our weary legs and watch the world go by. I hope you've enjoyed this wee ditty. See you soon for more Auld Reekie walks around the city.